Well, this message then comes to Elizabeth, and who's going to be pregnant with John. And Elizabeth also, Luke records how she talks about favor as well. She says, "The Lord has done this for me. In these days, he has shown his favor." Her pregnancy is God's favor being extended. Now, I want you to understand something else about, we got to kind of put ourselves back into this culture. In this first century AD culture, a husband and a wife who were not able to have a child were looked down on. People whispered about them behind their back. Because if you couldn't conceive a child, in their minds, that could be nothing else but the judgment of God. Either on you, because the husband and wife had some secret sin hidden away somewhere, or maybe it was the parents on either the husband's side or the wife's side that had messed up, and so God's judgment is kind of rolling down to them. And so Luke goes out of his way to tell us, back in verses 5, 6, and 7 of chapter 1, he says, first of all, it's not their parents, because he tells us both Zechariah and Elizabeth can trace their family lineage all the way back to Aaron, the high priest. So both of them come from, today we sometimes talk about PKs, pastors' kids. They're a PK of a PK of a PK of a PK of a priest's kid, all the way back to Aaron, the very first high priest. So Luke says we can trace both of their family lineages all the way back. So it's not because their parents sinned. And then he says, and in case you think that it was them who messed up, and that's why they weren't able to get pregnant, he says, but both of them were upright in the sight of God, and they followed all of God's commandments blamelessly. Nobody could point a finger at them and say, you messed up, or your parents messed up, and that's why you haven't been able to have a child. And so Elizabeth says, now when she finds out she is pregnant, she says, the Lord has done this for me. In these days, he has shown his favor. And then she adds this phrase, she says, and he has taken away my disgrace. Now look at that word disgrace. Okay? The root word is grace, God's unmerited favor. But what does that prefix dis at the beginning? What does that mean? Separated. Go on. We disassemble something. We take something that was together and intended to be together, and we take it apart. What about somebody who is discouraged? They have been separated from their source of courage. They no longer have the courage that they had before. And so when Elizabeth said, he has taken away my disgrace, he has shown me favor, what she's saying is not that now God's favor has finally shown up. She's saying God's favor has been around me all the time, but there's been something that has separated me from that. And what was it in this case? She said, he has taken away my disgrace among the people. All the people that were like, psst, 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 psst. I wonder why. I wonder why they can't. There must be something, you must have messed up somewhere. It's some secret sin. Come on, think about it. Pull it out. Maybe you thought something. Maybe you did some. There's got to be some reason why things aren't going the way that you thought that they were going to go. So I want you to remember this. Reproach, shame, whispers, those are and always have been and always will be tactics of the devil to try to keep you from recognizing God's favor. He's not, because listen, the devil can't do one thing to stop God's favor. He is utterly, completely powerless to stop God's favor directed towards you. His unmerited favor, his grace towards you. He cannot stop that. So what he's going to do instead is try to stop you from recognizing it. Try to stop you from seeing it. Which is the reason why, did you notice those verses that Jesus quoted from Isaiah? He talks about prisoners. He talks about blind people. He talks about oppressed people. And he says, I've come to open blind eyes. I've come to set people free, to remove the disgrace, the things that have been whispered about them.